The world is a beautiful but challenging place to live. And let's face it, life hits hard sometimes. So if you find your hopes and dreams and mental well-being needs a boost, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to Inspire Us with your host, J. Paul Nadeau, a former hostage negotiator turned motivational speaker and acclaimed author of Take Control of Your Life. And now, here's your host, J. Paul Nadeau.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspire Us. Today, I have Samantha Kris as my guest. I had the absolute pleasure of being on Samantha's podcast recently and loved every second of it. I'm going to leave her podcast link in the show notes. We're going to be talking today about setting goals and authentic inaction, and also about something that she is part of called Goalcast. And if you don't know about Goalcast, you certainly will at the end of this podcast. Without any further delay, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce you to Samantha Kris. Hello, Samantha, and welcome to Inspire Us.
Hi, thanks for having me, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome. It's so nice that we connected and that you're now on my podcast. I had heard about the wonderful things that you've been doing, and I couldn't wait to get you on. So now I finally have you. And you have done and accomplished so much, not only as a coach, but you're also working with Goalcast. And I know your book, Bossing Up, is a book about setting goals and following through with it. Do you mind talking about how people can set goals right now? COVID-19 is really forcing people to reevaluate some of the direction that they're going to be taking with new jobs and such, and goals that they need to start putting into place. Would you mind giving some direction for some of our listeners who may be struggling in this area?
Absolutely. This is one of my most favorite things to talk about. You're going to have a hard time getting me to shut up once we get on the goal train. It's, I can definitely resonate with those who are just rethinking things after the year that we had and wondering what's in store, what kind of control can I, take back over my time, over my energy, over what it is that I want to do with my life. And I'm a huge proponent for goal setting. I've always been, but it was when I started my business and I was at the time fresh out of a marriage. I was living on my own for the very first time. I was unemployed as well. It was my version of a rock bottom. It was a pretty low place personally, professionally. And somehow I decided this is the most opportune time to reinvent myself, to go into business for myself and to see if I can really do this because it's something that I had dreamed about for some time. And I realized that the existing way of goal setting, it wasn't cutting it. I would get excited about one thing, I would start on another thing, and then it would kind of fall flat. And I would have this checklist of things to do. And that was just it, is that it was a checklist and it was not backed by emotion. It was not backed by any kind of passion or fuel or fire that I had to be a different person that I knew was within me, but following this framework or the existing frameworks didn't really work. And so I kind of went back to the drawing board and I thought, what is the disconnect? What is it that is preventing me from waking up with a hell yeah attitude, even when things are tough, moving in the direction of the things that are keeping me up at night with such joy? I mean, things that I genuinely really wanted to do that I had such a hard time taking action on. And I started by kind of unpacking past success and recognizing, well, what is it about those things, those accomplishments that really allowed me to feel successful, not just be perceived as successful, take the accolades away, take the titles away, the promotions, and what were the things that made me feel most successful? And I realized that there were 4 key pillars, and these are the pillars that have informed my way of goal setting, which is the real goal methodology that I talk about both in the book and the TEDx talk. And REAL is an acronym. The pillars are resonant, empowering, actionable, and lucrative. So resonant is about setting goals that are aligned with your purpose, with what makes you happy and what makes you feel successful. How does this resonate on a core level? Empowering is about recognizing what is it going to be about this goal that on the hard days, of which there will be many, that will encourage me to want to do this? How do I want to feel? How is this goal going to make me feel that way? How does it contribute to my desired state? Actionable is about looking at the goal in bite-sized chunks. Oftentimes we set these Herculean tasks for ourselves, these big, big goals, and we get really excited. And then we step up to the mountain and we're like, oh God, I don't know where to begin. This is huge. And so we start by taking one step at a time, which actionable helps to break out. And the final pillar is lucrative, which really puts us in the driver's seat and allows us to think, what's in it for me? And I find oftentimes we set goals, we set it for our family, we set them for our communities, for our business, for the world. And we don't think upfront, how is this going to fill my cup? What do I stand to gain? And so when we look at this holistically, we look at how it resonates, how it empowers us, the action we could take, and what's in it for us, how it's lucrative. It is so much more than a checklist. It becomes a roadmap to the life that you can't stop thinking about.
I love that, because what you're doing is it's emotion based too, right? And it's
Big
it's
time.
about waking up with that hell yes attitude, and not looking at the big total big picture. It's looking at the smaller chunks of everything, and I think that that's really important for people to do. A lot of people are overwhelmed when they first start something, and as you said, if it's just a checklist, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything, and it's not
Mhm.
going to get done. So I really like the way that you've written that in your book, and the way that you've explained that. So thank you very much. That's goal setting. That's a lot easier to manage and to work with. You also empower people to step into their potential, their full potential, and create opportunities for success in their lives and business. How do you do that?
Oh, what a loaded question.
Oh, heck yes. Well, you, you didn't think it was going to go easy on you, did you?
Not at all.
All right.
Oh, you know what? I've actually always had a little bit of resistance in saying that I help people to achieve their full potential. What I commit to in people's journey is helping them recognize it. And I don't think that I'm going to be the one solely that is going to help you get there, but we have these visions for who we want to become, how we want to live, what we want to achieve, the life that we want to create for ourselves. And where I specialize is in connecting the dots. And so I have this, I don't know if it's a gift, I don't know if it's a passion or what it is, but I feel like my left brain and my right brain do a lot of great communicating. And I've got this very creative way of thinking big picture, of recognizing out of the box opportunities. And then my left brain kind of kicks in with the, hey, how are we going to get this done? And I have a very pragmatic approach. I really like process, I like systems, but I like for them to be iterative. And I think that approach in working with people in their goals specifically, in which they're very, very close to, when we get so honed in on something, I think we sometimes have blinders on and how we're seeing the possibilities of achieving or doing or becoming. And so having, a coach doesn't have to be a coach. It could be a mentor, it could be someone trusted in your life who comes in and say, hey, have you considered that there's another way, that there's another opportunity, that there's another door. In fact, you don't even need a door to go through. We can build that ourselves, is really where I add value, not only in helping people recognize what they're capable of, but in helping them connect the dots so that they continuously can keep that momentum.
That's excellent, because yeah, goal setting is so important, and being able to just set goals, realistic goals, and not feel overwhelmed about it. And what
Mm.
you mentioned about getting a coach involved in it, sometimes it is a trusted friend or an experienced coach who can take us to the next level and give us these ideas, these creative ideas that can move us from one place to another. And I think the world is going to turn to more coaches these days, and
Mm.
as we go forward, because we're finding it kind of difficult to do everything all by yourself. So I really like that you're helping people achieve that. And I also know, and I wanted to get into this topic with you, Goalcast.
Mhm.
A lot of our listeners probably don't know what Goalcast is. I follow Goalcast. I just absolutely love it. Would you please tell us about Goalcast and what your role in Goalcast, which has changed recently, is?
Absolutely. So, Goalcast is the world's leading empowering media company. We specialize in short form transformational content, and storytelling is at the core of what we do. We genuinely believe that storytelling has the potential to change the world, and that through telling the stories of incredible local heroes, celebrities, and everyone in between, we show these moments of cathartic transformation. Those moments where people have gone through the trenches, they have faced hardships, and they have come out the other side with the intention that our viewers will recognize themselves in these stories and say, hey, if that person can do it, I can too. And we have changed, and in some cases, we've even saved lives. We see in the comments that we receive that by putting these stories on our platform, which has, over 30 million fans, we've got a monthly viewership of over 500 millions viewed. Our content gets viewed more than Marvel movies, which is like mind blowing. And this is the power of our reach, because people genuinely want to be better people. They want to be better versions of themselves. And sometimes it takes seeing that it is possible from someone else to recognize that we can do this. And it's what we love to do. It's what the team is absolutely obsessed with. And my role, I initially joined in May as the head of marketing. And as of this week, I have been announced as the head of people and culture. So really taking more of a hands-on approach to help our team. And that's so exciting for me, because I know the team, I know what we've been able to achieve so far, and the idea of supporting them, I know will just create this ripple effect in what we're able to create in the world.
Oh, congratulations on that. And yes, you touched on a lot of things that mean a lot to me. Inspire Us is a podcast, this one that you're on, mine, is about showcasing people who have struggled through something and come out on the other end to share their stories, as you say, and as Goalcast does, to share their stories so that it will perhaps touch somebody out there who's struggling with the same thing, to say, yes, you know what, I can get through this. And it is amazing, the power of telling stories. I love telling stories, and I tell a lot of them.
Oh,
And
you're a great storyteller.
thank you. Yeah, you know what? I have a passion for it. And I see how telling stories does connect with people, because when I give keynotes, after the keynotes, of course, as you have as well, people come to you and they say, wow, your story really resonated with me. And a lot of times you can apply your story or make it apply to somebody else's life by
Mhm.
giving them a different way of looking at things. So Goalcast is, I just absolutely love it. I'm one of those fans of yours that continue to
Yeah.
just absolutely love it. Yeah. Boy, oh boy. I think that what you guys are doing is absolutely amazing with everything. Now,
Thank you.
if I can switch a little bit over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about authentic inaction. That was something that you talked about. And can you explain what that means?
Oh, authentic in action. I mean, this is something that I touched on with one of my guests. She's the true expert here. But if I can summarize, it's recognizing that we don't have to do all things at all times and be all things for all people. And that sometimes taking inaction is the most authentic thing we can do, is the thing that will add the most value to our lives and to those whose life we hope to enrich and enhance. And that it's okay to give ourselves the permission to say no, to feel comfortable in saying no, and recognize that by not taking action, we are sometimes, and this actually comes fresh off the heels of a session we did with Rory Vaden. If you haven't heard of him, he's wonderful. He's one of the guest speakers who came in to Goalcast not long ago for the team. And he put it really, really well when he said, things you say no to today are buying you time tomorrow. And so
Mm.
if we look at it from a not only authentic perspective, but from a productivity perspective, some of the things that we have the courage to say no to today are actually going to allow us to multiply the time we have in the future to do the bigger impact, higher value things that will allow us to step more into our authentic selves.
I like the way that you put that and the way he put that. It's absolutely true. Sometimes we take on far too many things, and that can really be discouraging, because when you try too many things at once, you can burn out. And I've been discovering that multitasking is the wrong thing to do. And saying no sometimes to certain things is the right thing to do. So thank you very much for explaining that.
Sure
Uh,
thing.
yeah, and another area I wanted to get into is your podcast. I had the pleasure of being on your podcast, and it's The Catalyst with Samantha Kris. And can you tell us what the theme of your wonderful podcast is?
Oh, I love these questions because these are all things I could just chat about all day.
Good.
Change being one of them, which is something I'm super, super passionate about. The podcast is about change and the catalyst for change in our lives, both personally and professionally. And my incredible guest, of which you are one, and I'm so grateful for, talk about the challenges and the triumphs that accompany change. And we talk about things that either my guests have changed, are in the process of changing, or wish to enact change on in the world. And there are inevitable bumps in the road. And so much like you do with your show, much like we do at Goalcast, it's about kind of shedding the spotlight a little bit on the trenches so that we can debunk the myth that change is easy or that change is scary or that change is hard. They can be all those things, but they can also be it's very complex, right? There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of emotion that's wrapped up in certain changes. And so the more I think we can bring life altering moments to the surface so that people can react to and engage with and consume, I think the more comfortable people will feel leaning into change in their life, no matter the scale, right? If we're just changing our simple daily habits, whether it's that or whether we're changing something on an extraordinary level, the podcast really focuses on bringing people on who can share tools that will allow us to do so.
I like that very much because, yes, change is inevitable. We're going to have to change at some point.
Right.
And some of us knocked off our horses. Something happens in your life where a divorce or the loss of a job, and change really has to take place, and the right change has to take place before you feel defeated and you give up. And that's what a lot of people are doing right now. They're experiencing a lot of change with COVID-19. Our world is
Mhm.
not the way it was just over a year ago.
Right.
And there doesn't seem to be a very fast solution to this. We don't know how much longer we're in this. So people really have to change. And your podcast is helping to make people aware that change can happen and that you can create great change. And thank you very much for doing that. I really enjoy your podcast. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, this has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate that we connected, Samantha. I think that what you're doing in the world is making a big difference, and thank you very much for being the special person you are.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm grateful that our paths have crossed. Not only did I love talking to you every chance that I get, but there's so many layers that I have yet to unpack that I'm just wondering, is it going to be a book? Is it going to be a podcast episode? I'm just waiting anxiously on every bit of content that you're releasing because there's so much value packed at every single touch point. So, I mean, you got a huge fan in me as well.
Oh, thank you very much. And I really appreciate you coming on the show and having me on your show. And again, we're working on a project. Well, you introduced me to Mark, and thank you so much for that introduction. It's been a great collaboration. So again, I thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another insightful episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and leave your comments. For more information, check out our website at www.inspireus.ca. Remember, it's not what happens to us that matters most. It's how we respond to what happens to us that does. Stay strong and resilient.